September is the month when our Jewish brothers and sisters celebrate their most holy of holiest days. Three of their great festivals, especially in the Northern Hemisphere, are celebrated during September. So we will briefly review those Jewish faith traditions that are commanded by God. We don't live by the literal word for word, of the Old Testament, and the old covenants don't any longer rule us, because we have a new covenant with and through the sacrifice of Jesus Christ. The observant Jews, those who are Orthodox, those who are conservative, and some of the Reform of today, follow the very strict guidelines of Leviticus as the instructions of how and for and when and where to prepare for the Passover Seder, the observant oblation and libation to and from the Lord. Now, due to the change to the Gregorian calendar, the actual dates change each year as the Jewish festivals, as set forth by the Lord. These are noted by moon markings and dates. For example, Passover is the first Saturday after the full moon of the vernal spring equinox, and Easter is the first Sunday after the full moon of the vernal equinox, in case you ever wondered. Here are the major holidays that correspond with those commanded by the Lord. The holiest of these are in the next 21 days, thus the timeliness of this lesson. Rosh Hashanah, the New Year, celebrated 10 days prior to the Day of Atonement. It is the first 2 days of the 7th month. Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, the holiest of holies in the Jewish calendar. 25 hours of continuous fasting. Its central themes are atonement and repentance. Jews traditionally observe this holy day with a 25-hour period of fasting and intensive prayer, often spending most of the day in synagogue services. Yom Kippur completes the annual period known in Judaism as the High Holy Days, or sometimes the Days of Awe. Sukkot, the Feast of Booths, or the Feast of the Tabernacles. It is one of 3 days when Jews are commanded to make a pilgrimage to the temple in Jerusalem. Sukkot will correspond to the fall festival of sheaves in the north and the spring festival of sheaves in the south. The other 2 days of the commands are Pesach, Passover, and Shavuot, Pentecost, the celebration for having received the Torah from God. Hanukkah, not a festival required by God. It was created by humans to commemorate the rededication of the Second Temple after the Maccabean revolt of the 2nd century BC. Purim, a human-created festival to commemorate the deliverance of the Jewish people in the ancient Persian Empire from destruction in the wake of the plot by Haman. Look to the biblical book of Esther. Pesach, Passover. This commemorates the story of Exodus, in which the ancient Israelites were freed from slavery in Egypt. Passover begins on the 15th day of the month of Nisan, the first month of the Jewish calendar, which is in the spring in the northern hemisphere, and is celebrated for 7 or 8 days, depending on the moon. It is one of the most widely observed Jewish holidays. Note, the Festival of Sheaves is a minor holiday, as the cultures are all non-agrarian now. Most of the festivals that you, as Christians, are most familiar with are not among those created by the command of God. Shabbat commands requirements for all Jews, regardless if conservative, Orthodox, or Reform. For those who observe or keep kosher, they have a great deal of work to maintain these laws. Jewish law also forbids the consumption of meat or dairy products together. That is kosher. The waiting period between eating meat and then eating dairy varies by the order in which they are consumed and by the community, and they can extend for up to 6 hours. The use of dishes, serving utensils, and ovens that make food forbidden that would otherwise be kosher, utensils that have been used to prepare non-kosher food, and dishes that have been held meat and now used for dairy products, render that food forbidden under certain conditions. You can't cook a dairy product, and then cook a meat product, for that makes the meat forbidden. You can't even use a spoon on a dairy product and then use that spoon on a meat product. Furthermore, all Orthodox and some conservative authorities forbid the consumption of processed grape products made by non-Jews, wine, due to the ancient pagan practices of using wine in rituals. Some conservative authorities permit wine and grape juice made without rabbinic supervision. This is where you will look for the Perv Label. The Torah does not give specific reasons for most of the laws of kosher. Moses does. However, a number of explanations have been offered, including maintaining the ritual purity, teaching impulse control, encouraging obedience to God, improving health, reducing cruelty to animals, and preserving the distinctness of the Jewish community. The various categories of dietary laws may have developed for different reasons and may exist for multiple reasons. For example, people are forbidden from consuming the blood of birds and mammals because, according to the Torah, this is where the animal souls are contained. In contrast, the Torah forbids Israelites from eating non-kosher species because they are unclean. This is all animals with cloven hooves. Some sects forbid all of a type of food because one form is forbidden, or it was at one time forbidden. For example, all shellfish by Ethiopian Jews, though not all, is forbidden. To maintain a kosher house is a substantial commitment to one's faith and to God, for it affects what and how you eat away from home as well. In areas where there are not large communities of Jewish people, there will be no restaurants that keep kosher in their methods of cooking, in their cleanliness, or in their food handling practices, or in their meat butchering. The same is true for Muslims finding practices with meals prepared to halal standards. The options remaining are salads of just greens, or sometimes a tuna salad or chicken salad sandwich, if the proteins come only out of a can. All canned tuna is kosher and halal. All canned chicken is butchered butchered kosher, and halal. These are nearly identical standards. They are cooked kosher. They carry a seal showing it is Perv, okay kosher. A U or a K in a circle means observed by a rabbi and declared Perv, kosher. A side note, the author, Faye Kellerman, even has an observant, conservative Jewish detective as her main character, and his wife with him as the focus of her entire series of a very popular and quite good detective novel series. These are good reads, but highly instructive too for life while keeping kosher, living a demanding job while observing a demanding faith. I highly recommend this series. It's a good read. They are good stories, but they tell you a great deal about this faith. When we come to the festivals, I would declare them on the calendar. Peace to all.